All right, hello, my trading friends. How are you today? I am excited to share some great ideas. I just did my scans for the week for swing trades ideas. Um, Starting the week coming up now. Keep in mind, we're in the thick earnings season. Make sure if you're buying anything or you own certain stocks, make sure you know when those companies report, and then you can have a game plan with regards to what you want to do with your shares, whether you want to hold off buying, whether you want to hold off selling, that sort of thing until when you have that information. Typically around earnings days, you can go back historically and see what the volatility typically is around earnings. But obviously that doesn't mean it's going to follow through this time and be about the same come with the same volatility. So. But it's always just good to know. And a lot of times, if I'm heavily profitable in something and earnings is coming up, I will sell parts of my position prior to earnings to lock in those profits before earnings hits. Okay, so that in mind, let's take a look at the markets here and see what's going on from here for the week of October 26th. Keep in mind that the election in the U.S. is going to be literally a little over a week from Monday. It's November 3rd, but that of course does not mean we will know the clear winner on the 3rd or the 4th or the 5th even. It may take some time to get worked out, or we may know right away. All remains to be seen without a crystal ball. We just got to take the charts, play the charts, and follow our plan. All right, starting off with the cues here. Same chart setup. Daily chart upper left, weekly chart upper right. These are going to be our two primary charts we're going to be focusing on for swing trading, and then the 60-minute to the lower left and the 50-minute to the lower right. So let's get cracking here on this. If you recall from the video I put out a week ago, I talked about this cup and handle forming. Well, the handle's declining here. I mean, this can be qualified as a handle. Typically, they're a little bit more flat and horizontal as opposed to pulling back this way. But this is totally fine. If you look to the left, what do we got here to the left? We've got support. We've got a crossing moving average here. So this really is looking like a buyable area with regards to the general uptrend. First pullback, from this big move up on the weekly chart, really these 3 4 weeks here is really the only significant pullback we've had off the highs. And so this first pullback is definitely something that's buyable and has been working if you bought it. Like I said, I bought actually the Qs, but I sold into it on this gap up here near the resistance point around $300. So I'm flat in it and I'm looking for an entry. And it looks like we're getting it. Here is the pullback. You'll see a pullback. You'll see these 4 dojis in a row representing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of last week. The crossing moving averages, support to the left. Everything is indicative of higher prices. The only concern is the fact that we made a lower high. We couldn't at least match that high, so that weakens this cup with handle a little bit in my regard. But the stop is pretty tight. So basically, you would look to trigger it above 285 would be your entry point, and your stop would be right under 280. Let's see what the low of this bottoming tail is. 280.82. So say 280 and change, 280.50 if you want to keep your stop really tight and look for a move towards that $300 mark off this pullback, crossing moving averages support to the left. Again, keep in mind the volatility is probably going to pick up. We may get a lot more. See this action here? We go. We gap down, gap up, came down, engulfed, gapped up, came down, gapped up, stayed up, dojied. So you can see this. We may get more of that here. You can look and see it looks a lot more controlled than the daily chart here. Um, but it may turn into more something like this because of the fact of any news events that come up here in the next 7 to 10 business days. So we'll see what happens. But that is a buyable event. I'm looking to probably pick that up there about over 285 with a stop under 280 for the QQQ and look for a move up to about 300. So you're looking about a $15 move. You got about a $5 stop, so it's 3 to 1, and you have to sit through it. But be careful, sit through the herky jerkiness if we get it. But in the grand scheme of things, day to day, you can see this last week was actually, other than the sell-off on Monday, pretty tame and pretty controlled. Whippy in a range. You can see it represented here on the 60-minute chart. There's your Monday, and there's your Tuesday. Went down, came up, went up, came down, went down, came up, went down, came up. So we just kind of hovered in this range here and held the area, but we're showing that we want to bounce off this support area around $280 a share. The Qs do look higher, and that looks like a buyable event there on the daily chart. Let's look at the SPY real quick. It is very similar, right? You've got the same cup with handle that was forming. It came down to the support area here. It bottoming tailed out, crossing moving averages. right? First real retracement off this move up. We had a little bit of a cluster here. Like I said, it was a little bit more weak than the QQQ. But nonetheless, we're looking to minor pivot here to go higher. Like I said, could buy this over 346 area with a stop under about 340 for the SPY. Now, keeping that in mind, so as the markets go, typically do a lot of these stocks, and so I have, good lord, I got a lot of great ideas here. I'm not gonna have time to get to all of them, but I'll hit on some of the high ones. We'll revisit some of the ones we got going, and then we'll call it a day, or we'll call it a video. Let's take a look first at OIIM. Those of you guys have been following, got in with me. Again, I sold 2/3 of my position. I still own 1/3 of a position here, and it is one of those things where right now I'm just going to hold it. Obviously, I'm going to trail stop the pivots, so my stop here probably moved to about 425 a share, which is quite a ways away from 584. But like I said, the way this is going parabolic, I think it can continue to the high side. So OIIM, if you're in it, congratulations. I would suggest you do take some profits at this point in the $6 area where it's toiling now. Take some off the table, especially prior to the election stuff next week, because it's been a great run and a huge producer. Genesis hasn't moved quite as much as this, but it's been very, very fantastic in general. And you can see it's busting here. When I talked about my next target being $7 a share, it's still valid. $7 a share, I'm going to be selling another piece of this holding. When it pulled back to 6, what do you think I did there? I talked about in the last video. I was going to buy in that 6 area, and guess what I did? I did buy it. Well, it turned out to be a really nice producer here the subsequent 4 days after Monday. It was basically weak because of Monday, is what it appeared to be. It had support at 6. I talked about support. Look, minor support at $6 a share. Bottoming tail, kissed off it, buy it back. I bought back the shares I sold up in here. Or actually, I sold it around 6, so I bought back those same shares, and I'm riding it up, targeting 7. Again, not going to sell my entire position at 7. I think this thing's going higher than 7. I think this is going to go to 8, 9, and 10 possibly. Not in the next week, but over the next several months, I think this thing's going to continue as long as the market can hold up. The market starts collapsing, something crazy happens in the markets, regardless of who wins the election, and all bets are off, and you should start taking some profits if the market starts crashing, because almost everything will get impacted negatively when everything goes. It's kind of the tide goes out and all the boats go out with it. So some will have more relative strength than others. This is one that I think will have that, but at that time I would probably take more off the table. But right now, next target $7 a share, and then 750 to 8 beyond that. Those of you guys got the pot stocks with me, congratulations. I own 2, Tilray and CGC. This one's been a monster. Again, I'm still riding this. Actually, bought it, added to the position. So I've got a full lot in this, and I'm looking for initial targets going to be around this $8 a share. If it can get up there, I'm going to take some profits, but we may have a major double bottom here, and then of course your more aggressive target will be this pivot around $12-ish a share, and then if it can get past there and the markets continue to roll, this thing I think has further upside. So Tilray, good on you if you got it with me. CGC is another one I got on. It's been fantastic. Bought it here at 18. It's up to 20. I think this thing goes higher. We're looking at probably around this 23 to $24 range is my first target on this thing, and it looks higher. So stay with these, but of course follow your plan. All right, let's get to some new ideas here. Activision, ATVI. You'll see here again an uptrend, clear uptrend on the weekly chart. It's forming this kind of wedge flag here. Your breakout point is around $85 a share. I know you got this topping tail to contend with here on the weekly, but you're looking for a price move above 85, and your stop is going to be around $75 a share below the low. So it's a pretty wide stop on this. So if you can find a way to X-ray down, you could also use on this daily chart a stop at around $79 a share in between these two here, 78 and 80, right here where my arrow is. And an entry, a little more refined entry at 84 as well, but considers ATVI long. It looks like it wants to go higher. Alexion, another one here, coming off of new highs, pulling back. You kind of see this flag forming. The breakout point is probably about over $125 a share with a stop right under these lows, which puts us at around 118. So 125, 118 on Alexion. Watch this for a possible long setup on the trigger above. I love Scientific Games. Nice little flag here forming above. It's kind of this little island support area that's forming above everything else to the left here on the weekly. It's come up. The moving averages are still trying to catch up. It crosses 200 period moving average and the resistance here with no problem whatsoever. It's holding up. I love this. Over 37-ish with a stop around 32. Watch Scientific Games to the long side. Datadog. Datadog here, pulling back here, took out this little support area. You look to the left, you've got what? The bottoming tail into the minor support to the left. So look for a setup in here. You've got one kind of forming. A trigger about 103 is the entry on Datadog, 103, and your stop's around $97 a share. After this green, if you can get above this green candle on Monday. So watching Datadog for a long is right here in the buy zone between the two moving averages that are moving up, uptrends in both time frames. Datadog consider long. MongoDB, another one coming off of brand new highs, pulling back nicely right into the support area to the left of the rising moving averages. You got support here around 240 as a more expensive stock, but you're looking at getting in around 250, stop 240, target 270 and beyond on this MongoDB, I think is how you pronounce it. So watch that one as well. Watch Microsoft, 217 trigger, stop 210. Look, this is very similar to the QQQ and the SPY pattern, right? Rising moving average. It's amazing how it mirrors it. The move up here is not as pronounced as it was the QQQ and SPY, but nonetheless, everything looks aligned. So as this goes is how the market's going to go. So again, I talked about the Qs and the SPYs, where they hit, where your target, where your entry and stops are. If those hit and fail, which they very well could, this may do that as well. Well, in fact, a lot of these long ideas I'm sharing with you could fail. So that's why we have stops. We don't know what's going to happen. But right now, I'm telling you, this is where I'm leaning. This is what I'm looking to take nibbles on coming up. And that's another thing is generally I'm nibbling. I'm not buying full-on positions in one lot right now in the thick of earnings season and with this major election event coming up next week. So I would consider, maybe 75% positions, 50% positions. So whatever your typical share size is or your typical allotment, say you're willing to invest $10,000 in a particular position or $20,000, instead of doing 20, do 10. Buy $10,000 worth of shares, or instead of 1,000, do 500 if you're doing $1,000 worth of stock. So I would suggest legging in rather than buying all in at one shot. And again, commissions are pretty much free nowadays, so it really doesn't matter. I mean, you just buy it multiple times and it doesn't cost you any more money from a commission perspective. So just a general suggestion to you if you haven't considered it or thought about it. Let's go to the next one here. So Microsoft, we talked about 217 entry, 210 stop. KTOS, this one I'm actually already in. I've been talking about it. Bought more off this little pullback here. As I talked about in the video, I would consider doing. I did buy more. So I'm actually got a full position in this. Watching this KTOS for a break higher. You can see it here. It's just right on the edge of this thing, ready to just burst. I like what I'm seeing in the volume. I like the shakeout. The shakeout typically adds more punch to this thing to go back higher. It's kind of like a pulling back the slingshot is what I call it, the slingshot effect. Off this is like pulling back and building up that potential energy, and then we can get a rocket ship going higher. Now, again, not sure it's going to happen, but I'm positioned. I'm in it. So where would you buy it now? Well, on a break above the highs, 21, actually it's right here. I mean, technically if over $22, you could buy this thing. Again, I'm already in full position. Depending on what happens with the market, I may add a little bit more and go slightly above what my typical number of shares are. But right now, I'm probably going to sit tight with the position I have on this one. Now, I tweeted about this. This one isn't ready yet, and I like what I'm seeing here. This one actually reports, I think, this next week. I'm pretty sure, but I'll have to look that up. But anyway, Fastly got crushed. It's been moving up a ton. I mean, it went from 20 in what is it, April, Mayish. It was $20 a share, and it went all the way up to 120. Came back to 70, went back to 130, and now it's back down. I want to see it flush these people here at 70. I would love to see this. I'd love to see it come down, maybe hit 68, and then I'm nibbling. Okay, I'm looking for it to come in there and maybe settle up, maybe get below there, stabilize, give you some candles to bank off of, and then you get in on those candles when they hit. So keep this on radar. I think it's going to be buyable here soon. It's in a nice uptrend. It is quite volatile, and also I would not nibble into this even if it hit 68 prior to earnings. This is definitely a play that I would make after it reports earnings is when I would consider playing this. But Fastly is definitely worth watching. Other one I tweeted about was Twilio. Two more. Twilio. Nice pullback. I talked about. I love the way this came in here at um, right here to the rising moving average. If you look to the left, that bottoming tail is what? Right at minor support right here, about 280. Would love to see it go deeper. It went down as low as 290. Consider this here. It's got an engulfing green candle, so technically it already hit. I did not buy this yet, but I'm watching this closely for some sort of setup here in this 290 to 310 area over the next few days. So Twilio, keep it on watch. DraftKings or Donkey Kong, whatever you want to call it here, it's down here quite a bit right to support. It's come down here. It did a double tap, right? A pretty solid double tap where it triggered, and then it slammed those people out here on the stops. And now it's back down to what? Support, $40 a share. $40 support. It took out the 45 minor support area here. Okay, so and it's stabilizing. See how it's kind of stabilizing? Look at the volume here. It picked up with the bottoming tail, bottoming tail, and then the next day it picked up on the topping tail, but really couldn't go lower. So I think it's building up some support in this area. I think it's buyable over about $43, $44 a share with a stop right under 40 if you want to keep it tight. Otherwise, you're going to have to go all the way down here, which to me is I just wouldn't stomach that a move down to 30. So what I would do is take it, get in. If it stops you out, and then you can get back in here in the 30s if it sets up again for you. But this one looks like it wants to go higher. It's coming off a brand new high, although it is a steep V-type top, which makes it a little bit more risky. I like this. So watch this one, DraftKings, for a long opportunity. All right, one more long, and I got a couple of shorts for you to consider here too. SSNC, I like this. It's up here near the highs. You can see this kind of basing. It's taily, up and down, up and down, up and down, but it's holding this general area. Pretty tight here on the weekly. I like what I'm seeing. A breakout above $66 a share is buyable. Your stop's going to be right under about 63 and change. This candle right here. You got rising moving average catching up to it. This one looks like a great long to watch for. Couple shorts. Avalon Bay. You can see here on the weekly chart, it's come down hard, and it really hasn't been, it's fallen, and it wasn't able to get up. It tried here, came back down, tried again, multiple attempts, lower highs, equal lows, slightly lower low there, a break below about 143, and I think this thing could easily revisit this low here, which was put in, what was that low? About let's just round it to 120 on this bottoming tail. So I'm looking to short this under 143 area. For a move lower, you've got a base forming here, so you can put a tight stop in around 148 if you want to keep it tight. You put your stop up at 165, it could be real painful. Obviously, it's safer from a win or lose perspective because the chance of it coming back up here after the lower high are slim, but that loss per share is going to hurt, and it really doesn't make the reward or risk worth it if you have that stop that far away. If your stop is $20-ish away and your target is $25 away, that's 1-to-1, and that's not, great. Now, if this thing does go down to 120, I will say, especially if the market collapses here and starts to fall apart, this could go to, it could go to zero, right? So you've got a long ways to go beyond that. And if that happens, if it triggers short, I'm in, it hits my target, I'm taking partial profits depending on what's going on macro in the market. If macro, it supports the short side, I may just take a very small piece off at 120 and try to ride the rest down to zero if it's possible. Okay, Avalon Bay watches a short opportunity, and World Wrestling Entertainment. Another one, clearly downtrending on the weekly, clearly downtrending on the daily. Just doesn't look good. Really unhealthy. Tried to break out here off these lows, came right back down. Short under 38. Stop at around $42 to $43 a share, and you're looking for initial first visit target of about $29 a share on this low here. Moving averages have caught up to it. Everything looks lower on this WWE, so watch this as a possible short. All right, guys. Hope you had a great trading week last week. It was phenomenal. I'm loving it. Hopefully you're on top of these things. There's a lot of opportunities coming. There's always opportunities every day, so just be on top of your game. Watching closely. You got a ton of ideas I've shared with you today. There's just plenty to look at. So follow your plan, follow the candlesticks, let the charts tell you what to do. And again, I would say ease off on your general sizing of your initial positions in general, just while things kind of settle in over the next couple weeks. I think it will be more volatile, but of course with volatility comes more opportunity. Okay. All right, guys. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you in the next video.